The traditional function of a school is to provide academic and social growth. We understand that kids will be sent to us every day, and we will teach them. That's our traditional model. Students will come, I will impart knowledge, the end.
D-O-N-E, done.
We know that's not going to create the students that we need. Instead, what schools need to be able to do is to develop well-rounded, diverse, creative thinkers. How do we do that? How do we fit in time in our day to create a child who's socially, emotionally well, who has time for physical exercise, who's also meeting the benchmarks academically? When you're in a high-poverty school, that task is especially tough. I need to understand that while it's important that I impart my knowledge, that I teach content, I need to understand what it is to educate the whole child. It's a big task, and it's not a task that schools can do on their own.
Growing up in poverty has a substantial impact on the tools that a child is bringing when they walk into the walls of the school. Many times growing up in a single-parent environment, not having books or adequate materials to prepare and do your homework, and in addition to that, most importantly, not having maybe food, clothing, shelter in a stable environment really can affect the emotional and cognitive development of a child.
There is, complex amount of issues that affect students and our population, and so to expect this school to handle those all on their own is pretty unrealistic. As remarkable as the teachers are, and as capable as they somehow are at being social workers and teachers and economic advisors to people, if it comes to it, we want them to teach, and so it takes multiple community partners to make that happen.
So often, as we say, it takes a village to raise a child, and surrounding a child and family with the systems they need. So it takes schools, it takes corporations, it takes nonprofits, faith-based organizations, governments, all working together and doing their part. And then what I get excited about is what do each of us own within that village? And how do we look at that, not just as a problem, but how do we come in and help make a difference in that sense? And I think there's a tremendous opportunity to break down that and say, what is it really we're trying to accomplish? Our angle is food, and how do we make sure that kids get the food, that they're ready to learn? And whether other companies coming in or other partners coming in and saying, how do I work with something like a school system, which can be large and incredible, how do we work with them to really make a difference to impact kids?
When you think about middle-class children, they have a wealth of opportunities available to them. In summer, they'll be doing soccer camps. They may go camping. They will have rich experiences where they are growing and learning, and when fall returns and they go to school, they can build on those experiences. For a lot of our children in poverty, they don't have those experiences. For many of our students, they may be at home, they may be taking care of other siblings. They don't have these rich experiences from which they can grow their learning on.
The Kiewit Foundation Summer Fun Program is a real asset to the community because what they do is they fund field trips for all of these day camps for a variety of nonprofit organizations. Without that funding, we wouldn't be able to give those kids that experience. So the Peter Kiewit Foundation Summer Fun Grant is critical in the summer months to help with the programming that we do, not only the Y, but other nonprofit organizations.
The Durham Museum is housed in Omaha's Union Station. The museum's been fortunate to be a part of the Summer Fun program through Peter Kiewit Foundation for many years, long before I came to the museum. Our workshop program is designed to kind of take the place of that school field trip, and they're 1-hour workshops. They're more hands-on, more project-based. We're trying to engage the kids, get them active a little bit. And then another piece is our Know Your City tours on Ollie the Trolley. take the kids on a tour around town and point out some things that are historical in nature and just some other things that maybe kids haven't had the opportunity to see.
The children from the Peter Kiewit program get excited over the smallest thing up to climbing up into our canopy tree house or hear a bird sing. They get totally turned on by the example of just nature and the flexibility in nature and the unpredictability of nature to be able to explore and discover.
There has been a lot of research recently that has looked into what has now been termed the nature deficit disorder. And basically what they're showing is that kids are no longer going outside and exploring and using their imagination and enjoying being outside in nature.
I had the opportunity with a first grader, and I realized that she was having a difficult time walking up the hill. And I asked her, I said, "How old are you?" She said, "I'm in first grade." I said, "Is this hill difficult for you?" And she goes, "Yes, I don't get outdoors to play. We have to be in the basement." She said, "We even moved to the basement this week because we've had some shootings and it's safe in our basement, so we stay down there." And I thought a minute of the sunset I experienced, the sounds of the whippoorwill in the evening and the coyotes at our farm, but out here, the bugs and the grass and the stream flowing through with the minnows and the turkey prints alongside of the stream. I knew that I needed to be sure that I had each child that I take through here to have an experience that they can take home and be a memory for the next year and the next year.
Many of the kids that come out to see us don't necessarily have the opportunity to go into places like this where there is a lot more nature, a lot more of the woods, more trees and that kind of thing. They're kind of stuck more in a very concrete environment.
I had a young man that enjoyed the wood chip trail down to South Table Creek, and he walked a little ways and he stopped and he looked around and his eyes got big and he went, "Is this the woods?" And we paused, and I said, "Yes. Can you hear the birds?" "Yes. And look at those trees." That was worth my whole day here, because I knew that he experienced what I hoped he could leave with.
My hope for the kids that participate in summer fun is that they're going to walk away at the end of the summer feeling good about themselves, that they've had fun and a good experience, and be able to go back to school, tell all the other kids what they did this summer, and just have some really fun memories to hold on to when things are kind of rough in their life and they realize that, wow, I got to do this, I was invited, I was important, someone cares about me.
And one little girl, when she was talking about having been to Arbor Day Lodge and Arbor Day Farm, she said that lady told us they were really happy that we were here. And I thought, you are that lady's life's work. And of course she's happy to see you, and she's happy to see you so enthused. But these kids don't realize that they matter, or they don't realize how they can matter.
When you think about two children, for example, a child living in poverty and a middle-class child, both children have a wealth of needs, but the resources available to both children are very different. For your middle-class child, they may go home and have one, maybe two parents who are able to help with homework. They may have a table where they're able to work on their homework. They may have a snack provided while they work on homework. For many of the children who live in poverty, they won't have any of those things. They won't have a parent available to help with homework. They won't have a table with a snack ready when they get home. For a lot of our children in poverty, they lack a lot of the resources that would level the playing field.
The achievement gap, it is what it is by definition. There is different levels of achievement in different schools across the country, and that's a fact. An opportunity gap is more what you have access to within your community.
Because we know that there is this gap between experiences that middle-class children are receiving and children in poverty, we need to then look to our community.
Glee Kids is a youth and family serving agency that provides out-of-school time opportunities for students and parent engagement and parent strengthening programs for families. We are in 6 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 3 homeless shelters.
Completely Kids provides enrichment activities that our children otherwise would not have the exposure to. In addition to that enrichment time, we feel it's very important that our children have academic time. So what we've done at Liberty, we've partnered classroom teachers with Completely Kids staff members to collaborate and work together so that our children are academically growing every day.
I think one of the interesting things about after-school programs is you can teach differently than the school day, and if nothing else, you can help develop a love of learning, which therefore if you have a student who is maybe a 2nd grader or a 3rd grader who's reading below grade level, if you can access them and convince them that learning is fun and learning has value and help them decide that, learning is something for them, that's how I feel happiest when evaluating our own programs.
I think a big thing to realize that when you're thinking about families who live in poverty and we think about resources, a lot of people label that as money. They just don't have money. And what I've found in my time working at Liberty is that money isn't the big issue. It's the knowledge. It's knowing how to access the resources. It's having grown up in a family where parenting skills were strong, and so in turn you're able to raise your own children with those strong parenting skills. It's having that awareness and that knowledge of what to look for and then what to do when you know that you need help.
Over time, we realized as an agency and within the school that one of the keys that we were missing was engaging parents.
We feel that in order for a student to be successful, the family unit has to be successful. So we have to, not only provide opportunities for the student, but provide the same opportunities for the families. Chances of being successful increase.
We noticed a lot of parents were wanting to get involved and wanting to develop themselves, but had a lack of connectivity to resources, just a lot of barriers to being connected to their community.
For some parents, it may be just trying to help them find stable housing. For other parents, they're trying to find a better job, so it's providing different educational resources for them.
We sort of started basic, some simple budgeting classes and ESL, 2 different GED classes, health and wellness classes, family nights, family reading nights.
Tales of things she had done and goals she had checked off.
Family reading night is a half hour every Thursday where families can come in and listen to a book being read by a teacher.
And they read a book out loud. The teacher highlights a simple but specific skill that the parent can do in the home. So it might be something as simple as, if your student's really young and they use the pictures to read a book, that's fine. They don't have to get every word correct. If you're reading a story and it makes you think of something that happened in your own life, discuss that with your child, make the connection to your world or to the person in the book.
Our goal for that is that parents will learn how to read to their children and then take that book home, and the kid will ask the parent to read to them and come back the next week for a different skill.
And for all of our adults who read to young children, our strategy tonight is to talk about what an author's purpose is.
Everybody likes to talk about the achievement gap and sort of point to maybe low-income schools and places for that, and a lot of blame either falls on the school or the parent. I guess our firm belief is that's just simply not the case. We have amazing teachers and amazing parents who want to be involved. Just because of the zip code you live in, some of those opportunities are limited. So the more we can bring into the school, bring it to the population, people access it, and they access it in high numbers, and we're never disappointed with the result. So the belief that there's a lack of involvement or a lack of interest, I just think it's false.
Growing up is difficult no matter who you are, but if you're a young person and you're growing up in poverty, you're growing up in a single-parent household, maybe you've got a parent who's incarcerated, you're going to face even more challenges. And so you need even more support, somebody in your life who is there to care for you and to be that sounding board, because those problems aren't going to go away. The best somebody can do is help you be able to deal with them and face them in a way that allows you to continue to grow. And so I think that's what mentors can do. They can't take away all the adversity, but they can help be there for that child and help them walk through it in a positive direction and come out better for it.
My mother had me when she was a teenager. I've never known or met my father. We struggled tremendously on welfare and food stamps. We were extremely mobile. We moved, I think it was 7 times from 2nd to 4th grade. As a direct result of that, I was illiterate entering into 4th grade. Academics was just not a priority because I had all these other things going on. Growing up in poverty and having a drug-infested home and a mother that was addicted to drugs in and out of prison, it was horrific. And sometimes if you don't know any better, it just becomes the norm. But because of my mentor and athletic opportunities, I was able to see a life outside of my community. I met my mentor, Fred, when I was 10 years old. I would sit there at his kitchen table in a nice, quiet, relaxed environment. We'd have a root beer. I would do my homework. We'd go outside and play catch. He was someone that cared about what I was doing every day of my life.
Young Nebraska women who aspire to build great.
Mentoring is a friendship between 2 people, and it matters because there's so many young people out there that don't have the kind of supports in their life that most of us have had growing up. A positive role model, somebody to bounce ideas with, somebody to help them make good choices. Something as simple as a friendship between 2 people can make a world of difference, and all the research tells us that.
I mentor with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and my mentee, her name is Periel Jackson. She's going to be a junior at North.
Before I met Miss Dana, I was having issues at school with a group of girls, and I was very lonely.
Well, my mentee faces the same sorts of struggles that all young people in high school face. There's peer pressures, there's questions about their changing bodies and all the things that go along with that. There's academic struggles, and so she faces those, and I'm able to answer a call, a text, to go and see her when she has a need and wants to spend time with someone. So I'm just there as an additional support for her.
It's great. I don't feel lonely anymore, and I get to spend time with somebody because my brother and sister are both gone to college. So I get to spend a lot of quality time with her and get to talk to her and express my feelings.
I just enjoy the opportunity to talk with her and to be a part of her life.
The work that we're doing, it's crucial that we have our business community involved because that's where our volunteers come from.
I actually learned about mentoring through my fellow OPPD employees. Partnership for Kids is an organization that OPPD partners with to get back in the community.
Some would say, well, it's really helping the kids, and that's great, it really is. But I will share with you, it's really increasing engagement with our workforce. It's helping the schools and the kids, but it's also really improving kind of the workplace and the work life of OPPD.
Obviously, we know when we give back as a mentor, we're going to be providing something back to the students. We're going to be teaching them about life, teaching them about school and education and those things. But there's also a learning experience coming back to you as well, which is something that is not talked about, but it happens. You learn about the struggles that they go through. You learn about their lives and how things are different from your life.
All right, sound like a bet? All right, you got it.
We're not about fixing kids. We're not about becoming their parent or their coach or their spiritual guardian. I mean, we're really there to be a friend and a listener, and at the important times, be available.
I believe that kids need somebody to believe in them. They need to have a reason and a purpose, especially when you're growing up in poverty and you have all these factors happening and all this stress in your life. Why is it important to come to school? Why is it important to learn to read when you're just trying to survive?
Honest, take it easy. Lawrence.
Hunger is something that you don't know that it's right next door. You know, you can tell when somebody is homeless, but when you have a child that's hungry, it's not always real observable. So when going into the schools and working with the schools is such an important part. They have lots of children that we hear stories about cutting in line, consuming everything on their plate, and eating other children's plate, to stories about children sneaking into the trash cans. And this isn't just in Omaha, it's throughout the state.
I met a woman the day before yesterday named Gina. Gina was with her 4 or 5 children at one of our lunch sites. So Gina is a single mom with 5 children under the age of 7. Apparently when the 3-year-old twins were born, Dad decided he was not going to cope with this anymore and left. She works nights, and her mother comes to stay with the children while they sleep. They manage during the school year because the kids get breakfast and lunch at school. Last summer, Gina gave the kids a choice of eating lunch or dinner because they couldn't do both. This year, we found Gina, Gina found us, and so the kids are all having lunch 5 days a week. And she says she's being able to make her food stamps stretch throughout the entire month because of that.
The Conagra Foods Foundation has been a wonderful partner for the food bank for many years. Most recently, we were able to purchase 2 brand new food trucks to expand our Kids Cruise and Kitchen program. And these meals are hot lunches that the children would normally be getting in the school year, but in the summertime, with schools closed, they're not able to then access these meals.
In our 93 county service area, we have about 217,000 people who describe themselves as food insecure. And about 21% of that group, or 1 in 5 people, are children who are food insecure.
The way I describe it to people is if it's 1 in 5 children, classroom sizes are what? About the average size of 20 kids. So let's say 4 children are, and that child that has not eaten since lunch yesterday is sitting next to your child in school. And they are bored and they're disturbed and they're picking at your child. Now a child is affecting your child's performance. So that's from a self standpoint in terms of how does it affect you. When a child doesn't have a meal, how are they going to perform in school? How are they going to focus and concentrate?
What we're hearing over and over again from the schools that we work with is there are gaps in times when young children, young elementary school age children, are being left alone. They may have parents that are working during the day. We also have third shift families that are working, so maybe their parents are gone during the evening meals. Our backpack program is specifically designed to meet the needs of children who are home alone over the weekend. Everything in it is popped up, ready to eat.
The backpack program for us is probably one of my joyous moments at Chandler View. I think part of that's just because it goes back down to breaking, ideas of what you have in your mind of someone in poverty. Our kids are happy. They don't know. Geez, sorry. I don't think our kids know necessarily the challenges they're really facing yet. Coming in school, Friday afternoons at 3:15, I hear them skipping down the hallways, going to pick up their foods and put in their backpack and go back to their classroom.
The partners that we work with on the backpack program are critical to this program being implemented in a successful way. Woodhouse Auto Family is a huge supporter of the backpack program, not only financially, but also with their support by coming into our building and packing our backpacks for us every month. We are serving 8,400 children every week through the backpack program, and we have schools on our waiting list. So without Woodhouse Auto Family, we actually would probably have to downscale the size of our program. When they first partnered with us, we were at about 1,500 students. So through their generous support, we've really been able to reach the need.
And I think the food bank does more than just provide food for families' needs and work with agencies. They work with us on things like summer feeding programs, after-school feeding programs, because it is a partnership. They're one partner in this example of working with the public schools and helping us surround these kids with the food that they need.
There's incredible needs out there that state funding and local funding and government funding does not provide. But I would say businesses have the ability and the skills and the attributes to be able to help any school. So I would encourage any business to reach out to their neighborhood school, whether it's elementary or junior high or high school, and just ask the question, what can we do to help? I think ask that open-ended question and you're going to get something that you would not imagine you would get from that school.
So I think the more people can disassociate maybe negative headlines from things and come check it out for themselves and see what's actually going on, I think it sort of takes away the myth of the crummy, poor school who's underperforming. There's brilliant teachers here, brilliant families, brilliant students, and it's happening every day. So if there's one sort of call to action of the wider community, it'd be to get involved and to come check it out.
So I think if we are all honest with ourselves, we know that to the degree we've ever achieved anything that's of any value at all, it's because there was somebody there to help us and support us. And if we have had that benefit, I think we have an absolute responsibility to pass that on.
Did you guys have fun today?
Yes.